Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1851. Cross that one off. Oh, nice one. One mystery solved. Yes, so if you've been following me for the last couple of weeks, you'll be seeing as we've been going through doing DNA matches. So I've got my Ancestry account, and on my Ancestry account there are DNA matches which we are going through and trying to find out where in the tree they fit, because the DNA shows we're blood related, the genealogy side shows how we are related. So last night I was talking about the fact that I had made an error with one of the people on there, because there was actually two guys the same with exactly the same name, first, middle, and last name exactly the same. Parents were completely different. One was born on 5th of January in 1891, and the other one 1890, and the other one was born in November 23rd of November 1891. So almost 2 years between them, and I had to separate them. Well, once I got off that call, and as I was getting ready for the podcast, I saw that I had an email from one of the DNA matches I've been talking with. And I was like, I'm going to have to wait till after the podcast. Can't delay the podcast. Got to get in there, get it done. So as soon as we finished, I went over and read the email, and I was like, so on Ancestry puts up there at the top how it thinks the person is related to you based on the number of centimorgans and whatever other algorithms that they use. So they had put this particular person who I had been looking for in my tree as a paternal second or third cousin. And so I've been working on them on my dad's side of the family, looking at it and trying to figure out how they fit it in there. And so then I sent her a message saying, well, who is your mother? Because I had the father's side information, but I didn't have her mother's side. I said, well, who is your mother? So maybe the link comes through on that side of her family tree to my dad's side. Well, she sent me back. It just knocked me over. She's actually related to me on my maternal side, on my mother's side. And she sent me this whole list of information about who her mother was. She sent me information about their family tree and everything else, including my first cousin once removed, who I have talked to a lot because he does a lot with with the genealogy on that side of the family, and with his mother's side, which happens to be my grandmother's side of the family, because he's my mum's first cousin. And so she was telling me all of this and talking about all these people and blah, 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 blah. And I was sort of like, wait, what? I have been looking on my dad's side of the family based on the fact that Ancestry had said that she was related to me on my paternal side. And I was trying to figure out where on my paternal side she came in. Now, some of the surnames that she has are actually on my paternal side of the family. Some of the surnames that she has in her dad's side of the tree. So there could be a possibility that somewhere down the line, we do have a connection on my dad's side of the tree. But our close connection, and she's actually my third cousin, is on my maternal side of the tree. And so she was telling me all this stuff, and she says, oh yeah, I know all about that one. What do you want to know about that one? And then she sent over this document, and then she's sending me documents that she'd been sent by my first cousin once removed, and all of that sort of stuff, and sending me information and all of that. And it was sort of like, as soon as I figured out, I knew who her great-grandfather was, because there was only one possibility who her great-grandfather could be with that surname that she gave me. And because his brothers had died in childhood. So he was the only surviving male in that family with that last name. And so I knew she hadn't come from my second great-grandmother's side of the family, but she had come from my second great-grandmother's brother. And my great-grandmother's brother, because we both had the same grandparents in common, which was my second great-grandmother, my second great-grandfather. And I have a lot to do with my second great-grandmother. I absolutely love and adore her. She did have a rough life and all of that. And in a very interesting conversation I had with somebody, I found out that my second great-grandmother was very protective of me in the other realm, in the woo-woo realm, for those that like the woo-woo stuff. So she's there watching over me, and I have the utmost respect for her. I've always been drawn to her and her story. And didn't realize this until this person revealed this to me, that my second great-grandmother had come through. And when I figured out who it was, I was sort of like, oh, cool. So it was a very, very revealing thing. But the fact that she's actually in that same line as me was just, and it was my great-grandmother's brother. that that she descends from. It's her great grandfather. So yeah, once we got all those pieces in place, it was sort of like, it was, I mean, the fact that I could go in and I could go into the DNA matches and I could pull her profile up and I could click that button that says connect to tree. When you click connect to tree, it then brings up a search thing for your own family tree, and you then type in the person's name, and then you click this button, and they now get a little DNA symbol next to their name to show that you have a DNA match. Well, when I did that, I then went back and looked at the tree and I went, I already have a DNA match with your uncle. I had found her uncle ages ago. Like, I don't know how long ago I had found her uncle. But her uncle and I are second cousins once removed. And I says, yeah, I found him ages ago. But the fact that I could go in and do a DNA connect with his niece, I said that was pretty special, to be able to do that. And I sort of felt like the search had come to a conclusion. But the fact that and I suddenly realized it's like any thriller or mystery plot that you're reading, that the really good ones, where you're reading along and all of a sudden they throw this twist in you and you go off in this other direction, which is exactly what happened here. I'm looking on the paternal side. I can't find her with her. Looking at her paternal, I'm looking at the information from her paternal side, which has same names as what's in my paternal side, like last names. We're searching on the last names, and was trying to find the matches in there, couldn't find the matches. So then somebody said to me, so what about your mother's side of the family? Let's have a look at your mother's side of the family. Maybe they're the ones that connect to my dad's side of the family. And she comes back and tells me what her mother's name was. And I was sort of like, OMG, that is my mother's side of the family. I've been searching on the entire wrong side of the family. So now we have our mystery twist. We're changing paths. We were going along here on this mystery and working at it and working at it and working at it. And all of a sudden, whew, we're over here on this side. And everything and all the pieces just fell into place. It is such an incredible feeling when that happens. And so we kind of went out for a little celebration today. We went out and we got Zephy some dog food and stopped off and got some ice cream on the way home. And actually, we got lunch on the way home. We just happened to get ice cream with lunch on the way home. Yes, and so we just had a little celebratory lunch when we got home. But it felt so good to finally find that missing piece. And be able to go, hey, I know where in our family tree you belong. I have found where you belong in our family tree. And I'm so glad to have you in our family tree and to find out that we're actually, we're third cousins, and so happy to have found you through that. So what's the next step? The next step is moving on to the next one. I've already started messaging other people in Ancestry DNA who have linked trees. Now, if you have a linked tree, it means that you can go in and have a look. And if some of their relatives match up with your relatives, they will show you the common relative. Some do, some don't. Some have a whole bunch of privates on there, which annoys the crap out of me because it means they haven't marked anybody as dead. Everybody's still alive. And if it's live, it puts private. It automatically puts private until you mark them dead. And then it puts the details up there. Even if you don't have a death date in there, you just put that they're deceased, it will show them as dead, not as living. Sorry, I've had too much sugar today. I tell you, having ice cream with some brownie bites in it. Yes, too much sugar. So I'm on a rehydration from the sugar. I've got a sugar headache, but we're working through that. We're having a great day. We're having an awesome. It's such a super fantastic sparkling day. But to find that information that was needed, it's awesome. So, and the other cool part that I got to do is I got to take her name. And I got to move it from I got to take her micro tree that I had created with all of her father's side of the information and everything else. And I got to go to her name, and I got to go up to the little button at the top and come down to relationships. And then in relationships under mother, put her mother's name in there, which was already which was almost I had to send her a couple of emails to go, okay, I know your great grandfather is this. Which one of his sons do you descend from? And listed the three boys, because there were three boys there. I had a feeling which one it was, but I wanted her confirmation before I went ahead and did that. And but to be able to go to that micro tree and to click on a profile, and on that button that says edit relationships, and you go in there and add in the relationship that now puts that whole micro tree into the big tree. That's such an awesome feeling. I love when I get to do that. So yeah, we had a major shift in the tree today. that little micro tree, which was getting pretty large, that little micro tree, suddenly became part of the big tree. And so, and then I've got this, I don't even know how many pages this is because there's no page numbers on it, but it's 6 generations. So I have a 6 generation document here, which starts with my second great grandmother and goes down through through her descendants. And I don't know if it actually does her. Let's see, it's generation 1, generation 2. There's my great grandmother. Oh, it does do. Okay. So this is a 6 generation document starting with my second great grandmother going down through 6 generations. So she sent me that over. I've printed it off so I can go through and have a read of it and fill in any gaps that I have, because I know the person who has created this document and I know how meticulous that they are with their research and everything else. And I thought I was meticulous until I met my first cousin once removed and saw the research he did. He actually went over to Scotland a few years ago. This is back when I was still living in New Zealand. He went over to Scotland and he spent, I don't know, weeks there or something. And he was doing research on our Scottish side of the family. And he spent a lot of time over there going through a lot of different libraries and churches and everything else, and meticulously copying down everything that he came across, getting copies where he could, where he couldn't. He was handwriting the transcriptions out, taking photos of documents, because this was before we had smartphones. So he had a camera with him, taking photos of documents. And then he came to my mum's house one night and for dinner. And then after dinner, he pulled out all of the stuff. And my mum and I just sat there and we were just enthralled with the stories that he was telling us about the different searches that he did, where he went, what records he found at different places. He was showing us the thing, showing us how it all fitted into the tree. He had the tree printed out. This was back in the 90s. And it was just a fantastic, I mean, the records he had collected and he had done and everything else were just amazing. So he is one of the very few trees, if I come across his tree on Ancestry and it shows as a match for my tree, and his one is one of the trees that I have absolutely zero problem with clicking that compare button and importing his information from his tree, because I know how meticulous he is on his research and that nothing goes into his tree unless he is 110% certain. So I know that this document here, this 17-page document, I think it is, or 20 pages, whatever it is, the 6 generation document here from my second great grandmother, I know it's going to be meticulously researched and everything else. And look, there's my great grandmother on this list as well. So I know that what's in this document is going to be 100% correct, just because I know how meticulous he is with his research. And like I said, I thought I was meticulous until I saw what he does for research. Yeah, I just look like a kid next to him. When it comes to researching everything else, I think I go through everything, and I have a system that I go through when I have a checklist and everything else. His checklist is way bigger than my checklist. He has his checklist for every person and has to check off every single box for every person of where he has researched and everything else. And information he has found. He even has a checklist for the information that he needs for each person before they go into his tree. Yeah, I have those, but not to the detail he has. But so to be handed this document, I was like, yay, because now I can go through it and I can double check my work with what he has done and know that what's in here is correct. He also turns out to be the keeper of the DNA. And when I was chatting with my third cousin, she said that he's the one that him, and she named another cousin who I didn't know of, but when I mentioned it to my mum, she says, oh yeah, this is how this person's related. And I'm like, oh, okay. She says, yeah, you remember that document that I sent you? Yeah, well, that's how we got that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I have heard of her. I just didn't realize who she was. But there's these 2 people on that side of the family that deal with that particular portion of the family tree, and they are the sort of like the DNA keepers of that. So they've got, and within Ancestry, you can actually have somebody manage your DNA results. So they can use it to help find other DNA matches and reach out through your DNA match to other potential matches and all of that sort of thing as well. So it's really quite cool. So, yeah. So today has been a very, very fun day full of celebration, and you go, well, where do you go from here? You just move on to the next one. So I've already sent out messages to more DNA matches. I'm looking for those that have the public linked trees, which means I can click on the tree and go in and see if I can match it up without even contacting them. Most of the time, though, I contact them anyway, say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm researching. I come across your DNA match. It says that we're probably this. I see that you have these people in your tree that were linked. How are you related to that particular person? This is how I'm related. How are you related? And that's basically the start of the conversation. So I've been sending out some of those messages today, and yeah, we'll see where we go. We'll see what the next one's going to bring. This one was different because it turned around and said we were on the paternal side when we're actually on the maternal side. So that was a big change on that one. Yes, that little plot twist, you get in the novels, the thrillers. We had our little plot twist of, oh yeah, you've been researching on the paternal side? She's actually on the other side. But we found it, the slot fitted, everything fitted, all the information that she had fitted with the information I had, and I would make a connection. Now we're on to the next ones and finding the next ones. Will I still keep in contact with that one? Absolutely. Once I make a connection with a cousin, I like to keep in contact with them. In fact, I'm going to go back to another one that I was researching where we found out, and he actually lives here in the States. He's on the East Coast. And we came up with a DNA match. And so we were trying to figure it out. And he wasn't sure how we fit it in. I wasn't sure. And it's one of those matches that it says we've got the DNA match, but we can't find the common ancestor yet. We're still searching on both sides. So we'll see how that goes. I've got him in a micro tree right now. So we might reopen that one while we're waiting for replies from the other ones. Because when you message people on Ancestry, they're not exactly quick because they don't live in Ancestry as often as I do. They come in once a month, once every other month, once a year. It's some that come in once a year. Yeah. So anyway, that's it from us. So what do you do when you find that match that you've been looking for? You finally find that person that fits into that slot that you have been basically killing yourself looking. Well, some people don't. That you've been looking very hard for. You've tracked all this information down and everything else. You can't make them fit, and then you finally find that missing piece that links them all together. How do you celebrate when you do that? You just go, yay, we found it, and carry on? Or do you stop, pause, savor the moment, go out, get a celebratory lunch or something, have a little celebration, and then move on? What do you do? Let